Hello beautiful beings, welcome back to my channel. I have not made a video in quite a while now, precisely a year. Yeah, a lot has transpired since I last made a YouTube video. I did another bufo and compost ceremony, which if you haven't seen my video I made about my first experience with that, I'll link it in the description below and you can check that out. I also went to California and spent 5 months living outside in a tent off grid. I stayed at a Hare Krishna temple for a month. I fell in love and out of love. I had a death in the family. I came to terms with my eating disorder and I'm now in the process of healing that. I decided to professionally pursue astrology and I'm taking classes for that online. And I decided to go back to college for psychology to help me with astrology. Now I'm kind of at this junction between my former and my future self. I am starting to see the future path before me more clearly and precisely than ever. 2020 was a bit of a blur for everybody, I'm sure. But for me in particular, I had a lot of Neptune transits in 2020. And if you know anything about Neptune, it is an
ego dissolver.
I definitely experienced this on a lot of different levels. I had Neptune still hovering over my 10th house, but it was conjunct my south node and it was squaring my ascendant and descendant axis. I also had my natal Neptune triggered by all of these transiting planets in Capricorn we had last year. Yeah, I got a big dose of Neptune energy in 2020 and I'm still kind of like recovering from that. Whenever Neptune comes around, it causes the urge to lose oneself, to dissolve the boundaries of the isolated ego and merge with something greater than ourselves. Neptune is like an ocean. It's reminiscent of that primal state of bliss, that sense of security and oneness and unity that we had in our mother's womb. So Neptune creates a yearning to get back to that state of oneness and unity and primal bliss. Neptune also creates a lot of escapist tendencies because we are trying to escape the ego. And so I was in Northern California on a mountain in the Emerald Triangle, the largest cannabis producing region in the world. So there was a lot of that in the past year, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just know that my intention was to escape myself and to avoid the things that I was feeling. Another thing that Neptune does is it dissolves the internal boundaries of our unconscious and conscious minds. So we get flooded with all of these new perceptions, all of these new insights and information from our unconscious that can feel very overwhelming and disorienting at the time, but it can lead to major breakthroughs in consciousness. So I definitely experienced some of this too. I felt like I was just in this whole new world. I was getting flooded by so much information and I kept thinking that I wanted to make videos about this. It would be really cool to share these things that I was discovering or realizing, or at least just document the whole experience that I was having. But I just could not muster up the motivation to film myself at the time. I think it was because, one, I was just experiencing a lot of deep personal purging and things that were coming up that I was processing that didn't really feel natural or right to share or talk about in a video, at least not at the time. And I also just didn't really care enough to make a video. My whole attitude during this was really just me like not caring, not caring about anything else. And I also just did not want to see myself on camera because I was just so lost and confused and not really knowing who I was. And the process of filming myself and having to look at myself for hours to edit a video was not appealing, and it honestly just made those feelings worse. And so I just really like avoided myself completely. Plus all of this new information that I was grasping, it was just on the leading edge of my conscious awareness and I couldn't quite get enough of a hold on it to translate it into words and put boundaries around the information I was receiving to create a video out of it. So I feel like I've gotten to a place where now I can do that. That is why I've been absent for a year, but I finally crawled out of that cocoon and I am so grateful for that experience because I have reemerged as a more refined, astute, unified being, and I am ready to reintegrate this new, complete self of mine into the world. So hello. I intend to start making YouTube videos again because, like I said, I feel like I have a firm enough grasp on my ego now to be able to put videos out It's also just a powerful form of creative expression for me, and it was something that I was really missing and really feeling the lack of when I wasn't making videos. Because for me, it's very therapeutic to be able to just talk about something and just post it on the internet and just let it go. It's like a form of release for me, and hopefully there's some people out there who can resonate with me and relate, and we can bond or whatever. We can talk, we can chill, we can be friends maybe. It's just really empowering for me to step into my wholeness and make videos again. And that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is wholeness. Wholeness has been a major keyword for me lately. I am super Virgo. Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Virgo Mercury. So I definitely value order and stability. So you can imagine during the height of these Neptune ego dissolving, boundary blurring, merging into chaotic oneness, I was struggling during that time to come to terms with that chaos that ensued. I became super hyper fixated on one thing that I knew that I could control: my food intake. Yes, I became hella restrictive with what I was eating. I actually lost up to like 15 pounds at one point, so I was quite underweight. I literally had no energy, no stamina. I had even worse mental clarity than I would have had with just the Neptune transits alone. I lost my menstrual cycle. I was getting dizzy all of the time, especially because I was living and working outside in 100 to 110 degree weather every day. And I was literally having dreams about food. So yeah, I knew that I had a problem during this whole thing. My body was giving me very obvious, blatant signs that there was a problem, and I was ignoring it because I was just so far removed from reality and just not able to see and think of myself objectively and make proper healthy decisions for myself. So it got pretty bad, and then when I got home, that kind of turned into binge eating because I was literally starving and I just could not maintain that level of restriction that I was imposing on myself anymore. It was so exhausting, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I broke and I was binging. I finally just got to the point where I was like, yeah, I cannot do this anymore. I am so sick of feeling like shit, of perpetuating this toxic cycle that I've had with food for pretty much my whole life, honestly. And I was just ready to change. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to nourish myself. I want to feel more vibrant. I want to be more vibrant and radiant. I want to have more energy. I want to come into wholeness. I want to be whole. And I was just setting all of those intentions because I knew that all of this inner work, all of this spiritual work that I had done on myself for the past few years would not be fully integrated if I still had this very prominent problem that I was not addressing in my life. I could not come into wholeness if I was not fully embracing every aspect of myself. And I am so grateful for all of the breakdowns and rock bottoms, because without those moments, we would not be able to truly let go and surrender. And it takes getting to that point where you literally cannot tolerate the way you've been living anymore, that you can make the change and give up the resistance. So I set those intentions. I knew that the first step to recovery was to love myself and be fully accepting and embrace myself now where I'm at, without any absurd conditions of having to be under a certain weight, having to look a certain way, be a certain proportion, having to maintain this insane level of control over my life. And I just knew that I could not fully integrate if I was judging and criticizing myself so harshly and holding myself to these absurd expectations. Thank you, society, for planting those in my brain and everyone else's brain. But now we know better, and we're healing and we're recovering, and it's good. But yeah, I just knew that I had to love myself. And so in the past couple of months, I've been very intentional about loving myself, listening to my body, healing and mending my relationship with food, using it as an opportunity to heal and nourish myself rather than using it as a way to pinpoint my daily successes and failures. So it's definitely gotten so much better. Just in the short amount of time that I've been practicing this, the results have been profound. I've really gotten back into Ayurveda, so that has been like a huge thing that is part of my self-love, food, relationship healing journey. And not just the meals that I'm making, also body oiling and massage, yoga, all these lifestyle, body care, holistic care things. Learning to treat my body as a holistic temple temple where all of my thoughts, beliefs, emotions, relationships, breath, food intake, and all my senses are intrinsically connected. Learning how to address all of me as a whole person as contributing to my optimal health and well-being. And that has just been like a tremendous healing experience for me. It makes me want to be the best me in every other aspect of my life. It makes me want to make YouTube videos again. It makes me want to take dance classes and yoga classes again, because that used to make me so happy, and it was such a big part of my creative expression as well. It makes me want to level up my style and curate a wardrobe of clothes that I really love and I really feel good in. It makes me want to reorganize and make a nice, pleasant, peaceful space around me so I can feel good in my space. The point is just changing this thing, embracing it, showing it love and care and kindness and gentleness has really leveled up every other aspect of my life. I just feel so much better. One, just because I'm eating regularly again, I'm feeling more energy from that. And two, just because I'm not so consumed by restricting and becoming out of control or being a slave to what I eat. It's just so exhausting trying to keep up that level of maintenance and fixation on the food that I eat. So it's cleared up my mind to be able to do other things, and it makes me feel much more present, and I'm healing my body and my soul and my self, and I'm happy about that. The whole reason why we hang on to what's comfortable and familiar in the first place is because we are scared of the unknown. As humans, our natural tendency is to fear the unknown as a protective mechanism. And when Neptune comes around, it really washes us away and it pushes us out of our comfort zone. It creates the urge to just want to grow and expand spiritually, because all of our ego accomplishments and external circumstances are just not satisfying to us anymore, and we're forced to go on this inward journey, which can be very humbling. I get this image of a dam. We tend to create these boundaries around ourselves, and this is our comfort zone, and we want to stay here. We want to fill up our dam and accumulate all of these assets to help our ego identify with something, and Neptune comes around and it breaks the dam. It overflows and it gets washed out, and that is a very frightening process to be in. But the result of that is we get all the way down the river, and then we look back and think like, oh, we have this whole new point of reference that we get to explore that we had no idea even existed because we were stuck in our own self-imposed boundaries. It's just silly because we tend to think like, oh, this right here, this is me.
I am only this water. That water over there that's just flowing about uncontrollably, that's not me. I'm just right here in this portion of the river.
But in reality, we're the whole damn river. Damn, get it? Seriously, do you see how limiting that belief is? Yet we all do it. We all wall ourselves off from the creative life force that's wanting to flow through us at all times. When we create this stagnant pool of water, it's stale and nasty and gross, and nobody wants to jump in that water and swim around in it. So during Neptune transits particularly, it's inevitable that dam is going to break. It's going to be washed out. It's going to be purified. So we can either choose to cooperate with that, or we can try to hang on to it, keep it together, which is so exhausting. Sorry guys, my memory card filled up. So where did I leave off? I think I was milking that analogy with the dam a lot. We get the point. But I've been taking all of these astrology classes online now, because learning astrology is like learning a new language. You really have to use much more imaginative, foundational imagery as the way to convey the archetypes of astrology. And what I've realized is that everything really is at its core elemental. And so we can learn so much by just observing the energy dynamics of earth, water, air, and fire. I'm probably going to make a whole separate video about that because I could just really go into depth about it. But I see Neptune as a very watery planet. It's a dissolver, diffuser, wash aware, all of that I just described. So it's really interesting because I look back on 2020, and before I even knew that I was in Neptune transits, I was actually literally drawn to water a lot. Fortunately, I was on the West Coast, so there was a lot of dips in the ocean and lakes and rivers. I probably dunked my head into every stream that I passed by on every hike I went on. And at the time, my partner got me really into the whole Wim Hof cold therapy thing. So we were doing like daily polar plunges in the pool, lots of cold showers, we were going canoeing. Yeah, water was just a big part of my life during that time too, which I think is interesting because it was one of the only things that really felt purifying and cleansing, and I think I just knew on a subconscious level that that's the whole process that I was going through because I was just so drawn to immerse myself in water. It was a very fluid year, very fluid vibes. It felt like a series of baptisms. In other words, 2020 was just one big baptism for me. Oh, and I also got these medicine animal oracle cards, and I kept pulling the frog medicine all throughout that year. If it'll focus, yeah. And the frog is a symbol for cleansing, which I thought was just so amazing and synchronistic because not only was I doing all of this cleansing with water, with the Neptune transits, all of that, but I literally did the frog and toad medicine with Bufo and combo, and so just funny how that comes full circle. It was just another sign to me that this is just a part of the process. Re-emerging from it, I just have this newfound sense of clarity and confidence and assurance, and it just feels so good to be back. I think that's all I'm going to share for now. Stay tuned for my next videos because like I said, I do intend to post again. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Stay woke.